relax a little bit. As a coach and an educator, sports events has been a vibrant part of our community since the 1990s. However, over the years, financial requirements has made it a little bit harder, difficult for us to organize and throw some sporting events. My question to you is, as mayor, how do you plan to address the access to city's facilities and resources so that it's more equitable to our small nonprofit organization, and how do you form partnerships with the cities to make it less of a financial burden for the organization that wants to run sporting events and things like that?
Richard?
Well, as of lately, in the last couple of years, we're starting to pay attention to the youth and the parks. What we need to do is hire city staff that works at these parks that they used to have when I was growing up in the city. They had people who were employed by the city of Fresno, who worked at the facilities and made sure that all the facilities were being run correctly.
Thank you.
That's a tough question. That's a tough question to answer regarding our youth right now. We're struggling in the city of Fresno. That's a great question, but I think we have there's issues with our gangs and our youth being distracted. And as a mayor, those will be brought to my attention, because I've been to the green spaces that they call burial grounds, and I see a lot of youth that shouldn't be there. The youth are going to be our next leaders. We need to start listening to what they have to say. Thank you.
When I started in 2009, we inherited a massive debt. We had the Great Recession, and one of the casualties was the park system and the community centers. In fact, most of the community centers for a while were run by private nonprofit to help the city out to keep it going. We have made it through the Great Recession. The city's rebuilding. We're trying to make different opportunities available. So it's important that now, like the Fresno Center and other centers, that we reach out to the community, provide opportunities for our young people, constructive opportunities that can keep them out of getting involved in criminal activities. When I wrote the Economic Expansion Act, a major component was career technical education and providing those opportunities for those people that don't go on to become college biologists and may want to be a plumber and make a lot more money, whatever other trades. So one of the things I put in there was that the city offer internships for a variety of trades, from the building trades, medical trades, architects, even within City Hall itself. So there's a responsibility there for the city. As money comes in and we can prioritize, we can reach out to the Hmong community and the entire community to try to make more opportunities for the city of Fresno and make more amenities. Thank you.
One of the things I did was, as a county supervisor, when Supervisor Pereira was a high-ranking officer at Fresno Hospital, or what we called VMC in those days, we had a Hispanic Association of Workers, and they couldn't use the ballroom at the county plaza. And I thought that was so unfair, and we cut the red tape, but he was able to use that ballroom. The same thing happened at the fairgrounds. The Fair District Board put such a restriction on groups that when you had the first few New Year's organizational product on the fairgrounds, the Fair Board kept people out. They put such restraints. We went in and cut that red tape and said it's unfair to treat one group differently than another group. The other issue, in a broader sense in the city, is that we need more parks, and we need more access to our parks. We do not have enough parks, and we do not have enough access. As a matter of fact, the city of Fresno is letting the parks go to such a degree that some people just don't want to use them anymore, and that needs to change. And as your mayor, I will make that change, and that will be a focal point. And I'm proud of the fact that I'm the only candidate up here that put a citywide program on for youth. Put a sports program. We got them very busy, and we hired Hmong people, we hired African Americans, we hired every sector of our community to be leaders in that organization. At the time, it was a CETA program, if you remember and was able to put young people to work under that program. We took advantage of that summer youth program. We got a lot of good workers, and I'm proud of that, and I continue to do that.
Thank you.
In the past 7 years, the city of Fresno made some pretty bad decisions when it made its choices to reduce its budget. And one of those bad choices was the cuts that it made to its parks department. Because the first problem is there aren't enough parks in the southeast, southwest Fresno. But to reduce funding to parks, to eliminate the staffing, to not maintain your parks anymore is a losing proposition for a community. And I think we're seeing the result of that now. So I think as your mayor, what I'm going to be doing is working closer with all the school districts that are surrounding the city of Fresno and open up those parks and those school grounds for your families to recreate in. Now, I think part of the question was, are there going to be fees or can the fees be lowered? I think the fees always can be looked at and can be lowered, but I think it's a two-way street. You know, to use any facility, it does cost money. So I think what we have to do is be reasonable with the community, but make sure that we open the doors to every park that we have to maintain them, to upgrade them, and allow them for public use. Because, I mean, I was driving here today in Romaine Playground, there was a lot of sports activities going on there. That's what's supposed to be happening there. We need to do more of that. We need to open our facilities to the community and make sure that when you need them, that they're available. I think it's that simple. That's what the purpose of public space is. It's for the community to use when you need them.
Hmong and Lao kids. Okay, testing. Let's start the timer again, please. All right, you got it? Hello, come on. That's okay, that's right. You ready? Come on. All right, one more time. Got it? Testing. All right, you know, I'm a pastor. So I know what to do when the mic doesn't work, and so that's what we're going to do now. So please start the timer. First thing we want to do is we're going to make sure that every elementary, middle school, and high school playground are fully equipped, supervised, beautiful, and open parks, because we don't have enough parks in the south part of our city. Number two, we're going to create some more parks. And I'm looking right now with a group at the 47 acres over here, right in the southeast section of the community. Number three, we have to understand that Hmong and Lao kids love athletics. And so we need to make sure that there's room to make that happen. And it's not all about the city. I work with cities across the U.S. and Africa, Asia, and Central America. And the key at this stage in the development of the Hmong and Lao communities, from my perspective, is to strengthen the organizations that you own, to have a chamber of commerce that is strong, to have churches that are strong, that have their own recreational facilities, that begin to form community development corporations in your neighborhoods that have not just the voice, but the resources to establish your own parks, your own recreational facilities, your own community centers, your own senior services. These things are happening in cities across the country, and the Hmong and Lao community is poised to begin to develop and deepen that level of new forms of organization so that you have voice and ownership in the future of your community. Thank you.
We have about a few more questions, and then if you guys are a little bit tired, you guys want to sit down, it's fine. And we're just going to go in. Our next person is Papua Yang.
Good evening, gentlemen. So the Hmong have moved to Fresno in the early 1980s for opportunity to farm and to provide for their family. The USDA NAS, which is the Ag Census for those who don't know, indicated that the Asian producers in the Fresno County reported a total of $45 million in sales. The largest of the Asian producers are Hmong, which is estimated to be over 1,500, Lao, Mien, Vietnamese, Cambodian, and others. The city of Fresno and its leaders need to acknowledge the contributions of Hmong families and how they are giving back to the community. So my question to you is, if you were elected as mayor, what are your plans to ensure that the hardworking farmers with limited English and formal education can access Fresno City services to achieve the American dream so that they can continue farming?
Start with Lee Graham.
In my time on City Hall, I've actively worked with the Hmong community. We did the general plan, we had text amendments that allowed for small farming within the city limits. A year ago, we had an amendment to allow to remove the restriction on watering that we had for 1 day a week to allow the small farmers to have sufficient water to water their crops. And it's beyond simply small farms. Some of the Hmongs in Asia have larger farms that are more successful, and that's part of the American success story. So I think the city could do more to recognize that, but the best way to do it is through action and to provide the opportunities for Hmong farmers and Hmong business people. And again, my Economic Expansion Act gives opportunities for existing small businesses to get loans, to get access to capital, to improve. And we need to encourage that at the city level. We also need to engage the private sector, the lenders, and the other people involved in the process to make sure that they're all successful in their small businesses. Thank you.
The most important issue for our agricultural sector is water. Without water, we don't have ag. In fact, we do have small farm, micro farms right here in Fresno. One of the folks that I know and frequent is the strawberry stand on Clinton, just east of Weber. Excuse me, just west of Weber. And on Mark's Avenue. Yes, it's all well. And I asked him, what's going to happen? He says, I don't know. The new regulation may require him to get rid of that well and go on city water. And that will really hurt his business because of the cost. The fact that we have an understanding of water in this valley, like very few, and needs to be put to use for our agricultural and our urban together as one unit. We need to fight as your mayor to lessen the regulations on agriculture. One of the things that has not been done by a mayor of Fresno is take that bully pulpit and speak against state and federal regulations against our farmers. And way too many of them. One of them was the strawberries, where they got rid of the thing that you put in the tent, fumigant that gets rid of the nematodes. They banned that chemical, which was very effective. Now you're having to use another one. A mayor needs to be attentive to that. I will be, and I've had that word is my background, so I promise you that ag and water go hand in hand. Thank you very much.
Well, as your mayor, based on the numbers that I heard, there's nothing I can teach you about farming. You're experts at that already. What my job as a mayor is going to be is to provide you the opportunity to grow your businesses and to sell your product. So I think what the mayor has to do is recognize that small business is the backbone of any community, is we have to engage in the type of strategies that provide you sometimes the finances that you need to start your businesses. So we should have a micro loan program at City Hall, and there will be. But I think as important is one thing that the mayor can do is open doors. And the doors that I will absolutely open for you are the farm to table opportunities. Opening the doors to the businesses that are going to be accessing and buying your products to make sure that, yes, there may be larger agricultural vendors in this community that sell on a bigger scale, but you have a place in the marketplace. And I think it's the job of a mayor to represent every segment of the community. And my commitment to you is that I will open those doors with you, with the agricultural vendors that will use your products, whether it's restaurants, grocery stores, or other businesses that will utilize these products. so that your business can expand. I think it's really that simple.
How many of you in the room today, and by the way, thank you, young man who is the tech person, thank you for the healing of my microphone, thank you. How many of you in the house today are farmers or have a farmer in your family? Raise your hand. Okay, and keep your hands up. How many of you are also live in the city of Fresno? Okay, so, you know, here's the deal. A mayor, we don't have a farming department in the city, but a mayor has to respond to people and their needs. The fact that you have $145 million production, and the fact that you are excellent at agriculture, especially in specific areas, means that you're a little bit of a threat to other parts of the farming economy. The job of the mayor is to see a situation like that and to mobilize the people in order to penetrate that market. The issue isn't your capacity to produce, it isn't your ability to do a good job as farmers. But as people, as citizens of the city of Fresno, my job as mayor is to advocate for you and do whatever it takes to make sure that this incredible resource in terms of farmers in the Hmong and Lao communities has the opportunity to penetrate the market. And whether that's direct marketing, whether that's a farmer's market here in Fresno, that's why it's so critical that the voice, that you all together form one voice and make a difference to a farm bureau that is owned by Hmong folk.
Richard?
Yes, I'm getting ready. What hard workers your community is and what you do to provide for other people. Your tradition isn't being passed on, I don't believe, anymore. I think education is taking over. And I don't know if we're going to find any more people who can do what the elderly have done for their community. As the mayor of the city of Fresno, being that this is my first time campaigning as a mayor or any political office in the city of Fresno, I can relate. I'm sure that you've been asking these questions for years. What we need to do is educate our elderly, our youth, and how to handle the kind of money that's generated from your agricultural produce. As mayor, things will change. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Zhang Yang.
Good evening, Mayor candidates. Tonight, we've touched on enhancing law enforcement within the community for prevention purposes. We've also touched on equality in the workforce. My question to you, Mayor candidates, as the next mayor, how will you inspire the local law enforcement agency here in Fresno to promote its Asian American law enforcement officers whom are qualified and possesses the leadership skills to be promoted to a supervisory position such as sergeants and lieutenants to meet the needs of the Asian community here in Fresno?
The next person to start is David.
Okay. One of the things we need to do, first of all, is as we are qualifying applicants, qualifying those that are already on the job, and getting them ready to take the supervisorial positions, whether they are police, fire, management of the city, we need to have the ability for them to get that training, to get that education, to get that roundedness, to offer them the opportunities to be at every sector of our community. We shouldn't put walls and borders up within our own community. As I said from the very beginning, we have an inclusive community and we need to bring it together bigger and better than ever for every part of our community. The Hmong community is a very important part of our community now for the last 40 years. And as your original speaker who started our meeting off said, the 40 years have brought a stableness to this community that we're here to stay. We're not going back, we're here to stay. My family came here over 100 years ago fleeing genocide, the Armenian genocide by the Turkish Ottoman Turks. Much like the Hmong community fleeing the communists. I know what it is to be raised in a family that can be ostracized. I don't like that feeling. I, as your mayor, will work to bring inclusiveness to this community and opportunities for everyone. Thank you.
You're right. There are a lot of qualified Southeast Asian officers in different levels of organizations throughout this community. I believe the city of Fresno has a broader opportunity. We have Chief Dyer, and he's a good friend of mine, and I support what he does, but we also know Chief Dyer is going to be retiring in the next couple of years. And I think the opportunity that we have in hiring the next police chief, and as your mayor, I will be hiring the next police chief. That police chief is going to, before they're hired, they're going to be coming to groups like this so that you can speak as a community to police chiefs and talk about how he or she will be creating their staffing, their vision for how they represent the community. I think that's going to be the biggest opportunity. But I do know that a law enforcement agency has to reflect the community that it serves. It's important in every city department, but probably no more important than the city of Fresno's police department because of the interaction and the potential for the type of interaction that law enforcement has with the people. So no question, I know those folks that are qualified. It's not about training. It's about now getting folks through the testing process, getting selected for the positions, and that happens when you have a mayor who's keeping an eye on the ball, who's focused on priorities, and indicates to the new police chief that hiring and promoting folks is going to be a top priority within all the communities that we represent.
So I, for years, have served on the Police Chiefs Advisory Board, and one of the things that we were very good at in our department was to look at traffic stops in terms of racial and ethnic backgrounds of people that were stopped in traffic to avoid profiling. What we have to now do in terms of identifying folks in terms of hiring is be very transparent about our police department and to identify every year through the Police Chiefs Advisory Board and through the Mayor's Advisory Board, which I will form, very clear numbers in terms of what are the ethnic and cultural and racial backgrounds of people on the department. It's a very similar question to what the black community asked me. Tate Hill, who's head of the Black Chamber, has endorsed me. One of the reasons is because he said that, you know what, our public works and public utilities departments are supposed to be giving a certain amount of contracts to local and companies headed by ethnic minorities and women. And we can't even get the statistics on what those numbers are. So our city at that point is not being transparent. What I told him is that I will have a report every quarter on what those numbers are. And we'll do the same thing as it relates to hiring. The second thing is, I will advocate for an academy for our young people, beginning in junior high, to be a part of an academy to prepare them for positions in fire, police, and nursing. Thank you.
You want to see more Southeast Asian Laotians being promoted in the police department. It starts with the chief. The chief has to sit down and especially when you're becoming a mayor, you just don't know everything that's been going on. So what you have to do is you have to start all over and see and listen to what has been said today, especially, and no promoting of the minority in the ranks of the police department, or even the fire department. As a mayor, who has to sit down with the chief of police, the chief will give all the insights as to how that department, the whole police department needs to be run. And he's looking for newer and better ideas, not the same ideas that haven't been working. If you're going to have an advisory member on the police staff, they need to be in that area with the supervisory skills they need to take care of their neighborhood. I understand that the minorities are not being promoted to the positions that they should, and as a mayor, those issues will be addressed. Thank you.
We discussed this earlier. It's definitely a problem within the city and other cities across the country. Really, what's ironical, that there's a major challenge hiring police officers. The problem is trying to promote them through the ranks. I think one way to do that has to come from the fire chief, has to come from the chief of police, really has to come from the mayor himself to really set a standard that when you have a significant portion of your population is Asian American or African American, it's in the city's best interest and the community's best interest to have a ratio that matches that. They need to have a program that trains people, probably having mentors, I think is a good example, of people that identify people early on coming through the ranks and find a way to move them up the ranks and mentoring them to get in positions of leadership. And maybe one day we have a Hmong chief of police or a Hmong fire chief. We shouldn't limit ourselves where we're going. And there's nothing that's easy out there. We can snap our finger, create commissions, but it's going to start with the mayor working with the heads of the departments, moving down to find a method and a way to effectively do it, and put a program out there where you have a timeline. Can't be done overnight, but it all starts with a detailed plan, how to get there, and how to achieve equity within our community. Thank you.
We have two more questions. The next one is Zachary Darley. I'm not sure if I can pronounce your last name correctly, but from Farm.
Thank you. Thank you guys all for being here with us tonight. It means a lot to me and to this community. There are several key community-based organizations that serve the many needs of the Southeast Asian community in Fresno. Some of these organizations are tswv Fresno, Fresno Metro Ministries, Fresno Interdenominational Refugee Ministries, Fresno Center for New Americans, and the East Bay Asian Youth Center, amongst others. Our organizations work tirelessly to meet the ever-increasing needs of this community in every way possible. For example, tswv Fresno is opening a 96-student Hmong language-focused preschool in our city. FIRM was a leader in the Somerset apartment crisis and will continue to be a leader in housing advocacy in the Southeast Asian community in our city. Fresno Center for New Americans operates the Living Well program, which serves the many mental health needs of this community. These are only a small selection of programs that CBOs are providing in the city of Fresno. And without them, we would see tens of thousands of residents with nowhere to go for culturally and linguistically competent support. As leaders of CBOs that serve the Southeast Asian community in Fresno, how will you, as the next mayor, plan to partner together with us to meet the increasing needs of this community in our city? And how do you see the Southeast Asian serving organizations as an asset in fixing some of our city's biggest problems? Also, in that light, how do you see an allocation perhaps of dollars to assist CBOs such as Fresno Center for New Americans, FIRM, or tswv Fresno through possibly reallocating funds or using CDBG funds to help support our work as we bring millions of dollars of support into this community to serve the Southeast Asians? So it's a mouthful, but I appreciate your well thought out answer to this one. Thank you.
And you was right.
Thank you for the question. As the county supervisor, we work with a lot of these organizations now, and we provide funding to quite a few of them now. So, should the partnership continue? Absolutely. The city of Fresno cannot do everything by itself. It has to have community partners to get the job done. I mean, I think the greatest example of recent times is when Somerset became an issue. and how this community came together, made that a community issue, and made City Hall act. That's the way sometimes partnerships have to work in making somebody uncomfortable, but moving people to action. I think the key now is making sure that the city's action is not just for a few months, but it's an ongoing process of the city where we, in this case, slum housing, that we deal with it once and for all, and we will under my administration. But I do believe that CBDG is certainly an opportunity to continue to provide funding. I think the challenge is we know CBDG funding is going down at the national level, so it's a question of how do we, hopefully with the next presidential administration, increase that type of funding. But in the meantime, how can we look to the city resources to possibly help agencies too? I mean, I'm not going to convince you today that we're absolutely going to do that as far as provide the money, but I will make a commitment to you that we will take that look at this money, because without these organizations, we cannot prosper in this community. They have to stay and have to get stronger.
I've been working for years with each one of those organizations. In fact, Boon Kam Non Bilatong, who was the chairman of the board of firm, was on my board in the organization that I formed to do a community development organization in downtown. But I think that in addition to city funding that should be going out, and by the way, congratulations in terms of the Somerset process, $100,000 generated in community contributions to help with that situation. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Several years ago, we did a study of what California foundations give to the Central Valley. And what we discovered was that California foundations, philanthropic organizations, are giving $14 per capita in the Bay Area, $9 per capita in Los Angeles, and $3 per capita here in the Central Valley. And so what I did with a number of other groups was to go after some of those foundations, and we began to move the needle and get more of those resources committed here from the Irvine Foundation, from the California Endowment, from other major philanthropic organizations. What a mayor can do is champion those types of organizations and make sure that they're not only getting some city funding and some county funding, but also to get some private philanthropic funding and charitable funding around issues that are of key importance to the community. So that I will be that champion for those organizations and for the new organizations that are going to be emerging out of the Hmong and Lao communities in the future.
In 2012, I ran as a write-in candidate for the city office, the office of the mayor in the city of Fresno, as a write-in candidate, because I knew I wasn't going to win. The administration has already been established, and the Southeast Asian populace has been ignored. That's why we're here. That's why you're here with your questions. It's an honor to run for mayor of the city of Fresno. It's an honor to be here in front of you people and answer your questions as to what's best for our city and for the Southeast Asian population. As a mayor, we're going to start at ground zero. We're going to build our city up from the ground up. Your neighborhoods are falling apart. Your lights are out. Your kids are not safe at night. That's going to change. Fresno needs new and better direction for all its citizens. Thank you.
I'll echo some of the sentiments that the other speakers have made about Fresno has limited resources to take on these problems, and we need to go to private foundations and other sources to find the capital needed to address these issues. The whole smorgasbord of issues, from policing, parks, public works, fair housing, there's so many resources to do it, so we've got to be creative. A good example would have been on Somerset Village, having tenant education, working with those same nonprofits to let people understand what their rights were, understand what their responsibilities were as tenants, where these things would never, ever escalate to the point they did and created a housing crisis. So there's a long way to go in this organization, but We have to find additional resources. We also need to engage the private sector, the business sector, to get involved in this community. There are people here with substantial businesses that make a lot of money. They need to get involved in this community. They're a part of it. Their success is part of this community. So as mayor, I will try to engage the business community more actively, from a financial point of view, to get involved in our community and help resolve these problems. Thank you.
Each of the forums we've gone to with large audiences, the community collaborative audience that we had on South Chestnut Avenue, where there was 600 or so folks, many of you perhaps were in that same audience. One of the issues that becomes commonality, and that is what can community groups have in a way of support from the public agencies. And one of the issues that always comes up, and when I was a county board member that came up, was that when too much public funding is dependent on community groups, depend on public funding, they lose their energy. I believe the mayor needs to be involved at every level of a community group, putting the shoulder to the wheel. When I went out to get the petition moved to lower our water rates, I went to every sector, every part of this community, and spoke to every group I possibly could. I learned something from that. I said, you know something? A mayor shouldn't be sitting up in a seat in City Hall. They should be out working with these community groups. That's how you get things done. We need a collaborative. We need a clearinghouse so we all know what each other are doing. We had that at one time and we kind of lost that. We lost track of how to keep track of what we're all doing. I think a mayor needs to be working with the county very close and all these small agencies to make sure that all our volunteer groups are heading in the same direction. Thank you.
Due to the times, we're going to have you guys go back and sit down. We're going to wrap it up. Yeah. Please get another round of applause to our 5 mayor candidates for the Also, we want to thank Hmong TV for sponsoring our event tonight. They will also be live. This show will be on, they will have this forum live, and also it will be playing in the next few days for Hmong parents who are not here tonight. To close tonight's event, the one person who worked, everybody worked hard, but you have that one person, right? The one person who was her initiative to make this happen and got everybody together. And the lead person for this event tonight is my Kopa, and she will be closing tonight's forum. Thank you.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for being so patient and standing up here for a whole hour and a half. And that's probably an exercise for the, the rest of the days or week. I apologize, but my closing do have to need your response as well. So I'm going to have to ask you to come right back and to your mic, okay? Sorry that you're all sat down, but hopefully that 2 seconds, relax your legs. I'm going to ask you gentlemen to come all back to the mic. And where did we left off? Who's responded earlier? The next number. I wasn't following this. My turn? The last question, who started? Henry. Yeah, Henry, you'll answer first the last question?
Sure.
No, were you the first one?
Yes.
You answered the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this one next is starting with Pastor H. Okay. For this last question, each candidate has 2 minutes, okay, to respond, including with your closing. So you have a little bit more time. The new mayors will have to pick a new city manager if Bruce Broad is retired. How will the selection process address sensitivities to Hmong community issues, and will the city increase the Hmong staff in each of the city service departments to better serve the Hmong community.
Will this be our last opportunity to speak?
Yes, yeah, you each have 2 minutes to wrap up, including that.
Okay, great.
Or we could add 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So it's ahead of time, right? Woo.
2 minutes and 50 seconds? Okay. The Hmong community, the Hmong and the Lao community represents America. It represents what America is about. I've got friends who swam the Mekong River. I got friends that swam the Mekong River and left family members behind who never made it. I had some friends that let their families go and then swam later and were finally reunited after many years. The strength of America is in people who have faced their pain and out of that pain created a new life. And you've created a new life. It is powerful, it is wealthy, it is a model for the rest of the country. You've got kids that are thriving in school, and it is a joy to be able to work alongside, over the last 32 years, to be able to work alongside leaders in the Hmong and Lao community who have led their community well. And so I want to thank you for being not just new Americans, that's old story. To being a part of what America is and what Fresno is. Your story, your voice, your vitality is critical. Do you know that a study has been done of cities that are most successful in this country in terms of economic development? Do you know the one thing that is most common about those cities is the friendliness and the open doors that they offer to new immigrant populations? My goal as mayor will be to open the door wide for the Hmong and the Lao community, not as new Americans, but at that next level of development that needs to take place in terms of organizing around agricultural cooperatives, organizing around business champions, and the ability to mobilize with one voice and influence our city for the future. I'm excited about being your mayor. I'm excited about appointing the only people that I will appoint as police chief, as city manager, as fire chief, are people that have the community in mind, that see Fresno as a mosaic of communities and treat everybody equally. In 1992, when crime was at its height, and we had 128 gangs and 13,000 car thefts and 100 homicides, my family and I moved from the safest community in Clovis to the highest crime community in Fresno. We didn't move there to be missionaries. We didn't move there to be the Great White Hope. Those are mythical realities. We moved there because that's where the need was. And we've seen development take place in the toughest neighborhoods. And we've admired what has gone on in terms of various communities that have made Fresno what it is. We need to do that in every neighborhood, and I want to partner with the Hmong and the Lao community to make that a reality in the future. Thank you very much.
I'll repeat the questions. The new mayor will have to pick a new city manager if or when Bruce Roth is retired. How will the selection process address sensitivities to Hmong community issues? And will the city increase or hire more staff in each of the city service departments to better serve the Hmong community?
Okay. City manager position was just brought up to my attention that if he was to retire or leave his position, how would we hire a new city manager? Well, we do it not because you're a friend of somebody at City Hall. I've seen city managers come and go the last 8 years. Some came back and then left again for a more prosperous city manager job in another city. The mayor is the most responsible part of the city leadership here in Fresno. The responsibilities are beyond our imagination, really, because of all the needs and petitions out there that people ask about what the next mayor is going to do. That next mayor is going to be diligent, he's going to be prudent, he's going to be dedicated to make sure that every community, southeast, southwest, central east, central west, northwest, northeast, every community is going to be represented. I think our youth, I'll say it again, we have Barrios Unidos, we have building healthy communities, we have kids out there who are getting involved in seeing that the neglect of our city has fallen into their lap. As a mayor, I want to clean this city up. I make our children proud to be living in the city of Fresno and not be afraid to attend a school without having to be asked to join a gang.
One of my first duties as a mayor, when he decides to leave within probably the first year, is to do a national search to find the best and the brightest to head the team that will lead this city through the 21st century and lead this city into finding really complex problems and solving them. You know, when I came out here, my old neighborhood was probably about 4 or 5 blocks away on McKinsey Street, by McKinsey and 9th Street. I remember growing up on McKinsey Street, we talked about gardens. My grandparents immigrated in 1915 from Italy. Had a small farm, it didn't work out. They moved to 4030 East McKinsey. They had gardens, sound familiar? They had chickens, they had pigeons. There was a very close, tight-knit family that I lived in. We didn't have much. We lived in a small 2-bedroom house. But despite all the challenges I had some major challenges as a young man. I found a way to get an education, found a way to have a very, very loving, caring, extended family, found a way to start a business. I started a small business that grew to a big business, employed a lot of people. That's the American dream. And I think what's happened in that Fresno I grew up in many years ago is that we've had this generational poverty, high unemployment, and low expectations. And what I want to do with all my heart is to lead this city, to take this, put this city on my back and lead us into prosperity. And my vision for this city is a full economic recovery, which we've never had. Again, lower unemployment rates, higher wages, most importantly, creating opportunity for all of our citizens. About a week ago, Bobby Bang asked me to go to a grand opening for the Asian market on Blackstone and Gettysburg. Mr. Lee, who was the entrepreneur celebrating his opening of this market, he gave the story. He came about 35 years earlier, 1980, the shirt on his back and $50 in his pocket. And through his own hard work and determination, he found a way to be a very successful person. That's the dream I want for everybody, and particularly the Hmong community. Thank you.
To your question about the city manager selection, whether the city manager is internal from a local person or a national search, that person needs to know our community. That would be one of the main on-the-top shelf questions. As mayor, I would ask any applicant. When I was a county board member, one of the top positions of our county is the CEO, County Administrative Officer. At the time I was there, a big time I was there, was a fellow named Lindsay Daniels, a local African American. He was one of the sharpest county managers that we've had in Fresno County. I think we've got a lot of local talent right here. And I think an applicant needs not to be fearful to step up and ask for that position. One of the things that I've offered as a major change in this community, because I see too much dysfunction at City Hall, is that we need to allow the mayor to pick the 3 top positions. That's the city manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk. And allow the council to fire the city manager, which they have no ability to do that now. If the city manager treats the council with chagrin, council can't do anything. Same way with the city attorney and the mayor. The mayor doesn't appoint the city attorney often. Matter of fact, every one of the mayors that have been in the strong mayor system have complained. The city attorney doesn't give them any information back the way they would like to have it back. That has to change. That's why I would like to offer a charter amendment. When I get there, I will do that. The fact that we have, as in the closing statement, that I have a 100 years family background fleeing a war-torn area, just like the Hmong community. I understand the plight. I'm sensitive to it. We have communities within our own communities that we need to keep in touch with. I've adopted a plan that was written by a fellow named Tom Peters. He wrote for all these top managers of all top corporations in the national scene. He said, manage by walking around. Don't stay in one pillar. Don't stay in your ivory tower. Get out and be in your community. Be in your firm, in this case. I will be a mayor, a person, one of us. Not somebody that has a higher power just because I got there and now I can sit there and hide from everyone. No, I want to be with you and everyone because I am one of you. And we need to continue that. The mayor should never forget that. Thank you for having us here today.
Well, first, let me thank you all for taking the time of this day to come to hear us. This is a very important decision that you're going to be making. Okay, you took part of my 3 minutes. No, but I think it's important to note that in my 20 years of public service, I have worked with many of the people in this room. So you know my work, you know my heart. So I think you know that when I hire a city manager, that city manager is going to have my heart, and he's going to have a heart for the community. So I can assure you of that. I made a commitment earlier to you that when we hire the next police chief, I will bring the top candidates before you to answer your questions. And I promise you I'll be sitting in the back of the room listening. It's going to be important that the new police chief connects to the community. Now, I grew up in Southeast Fresno. I still own my home on McKenzie Avenue. And I didn't have to move from Clovis to downtown Fresno to understand poverty or the problems and challenges of poor people. So
that's the second time you've said that.
So what I want to emphasize to you is that being someone who was born in this community, but though who has an understanding of what it is to represent an entire city, I'm prepared to do that. I'm prepared to strengthen public safety. I'm prepared to bring jobs into this community. I'm prepared to deal with the slumlords that have been plaguing Southeast, Southwest Fresno for many years. We're going to take care of all these problems. And you do that by having a leader who's not going to be afraid to make decisions, and by a leader that you can look back at what I have done when I was on the school board, a city council, a board of supervisors to get the job done. And I promise that I will work with you to make that happen.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And the next question is just a yes or no. Okay? Very simple now. The next step. Will you include our community members and members of this group, okay, to be on your quarterly community meetings and maybe even an advisory member to your team?
Yes, yes. Yes, I already listened to many Hmong friends and leaders already. Thank you.
Yes.
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 Questions. Now just the message from the community. And okay. Our message to the candidates and to everyone in here is that this team has a long-term vision. We will continue being the ears and voices for the community. We will motivate our community to be more involved with civic engagement and promoting people to vote. And we're willing to be that vehicle that will go educate people, knock on doors and doors for people to go out and vote. This may be the first very small step for us, since you only organize this in 2 weeks. But we will have one voice. and we will continue to work with our other allies, partners, who are much more experienced than us, and we will work together to make this happen, to wake up our community. We will identify, qualify people to work in with all areas of the job that the city of Fresno has to offer. If we don't have any, we will develop them. Okay? We want to be informed and included in your list of jobs and in your leadership, and the special employments that are available in the city. We encourage everyone in here, especially young generations, that if you are passionate to work with the community and wanting to help the community, or even wanted to run for office someday, you gotta start early. You gotta start volunteering, go to places, practice civic engagement. Or even if you wanted to become a community organizer like me, you don't get paid. But if you want to be a community organizer like myself, we will do our best to give resources and prepare to send you to for training with some of the best community organizing institutions. And this is part of the partnership that we with all these other nonprofit organizations and all this group. And in Faith and Community, we don't have a penny. We don't have anything at all. But we're willing to fundraising, selling egos to send these individuals, young people, to go to training. We wanted to motivate young people for leadership. So we appreciate that you help and support our youth. We wanted to invite all of the family who are here tonight to come back and meet us, to do the walk the neighbors, okay? To do door to door, and to share, to hear, and to share what you hear today, okay? And to share with the Hmong community, so that our Hmong community will be aware and start getting involved with civic engagement and do the part of the job as the civic duty as the U.S. citizen. And we wanted to make sure everybody just get out there and go vote. So, maybe this is first time, maybe a year, maybe two, maybe three, but we will be one voice and our community will have a big number to produce as part of the voting records. So that's our dream. So I encourage those of you that have not signed out outside, that have not given us your information, please do. And when we wanted to do this walking door to door, we will contact you. And if you're interested to become a community organizer or just work with your community and you wanted to be trained, let us know so we can start something, a small spot to start something, and we will develop this leaders. And so I want to ask a commitment from all the audience that we thank you to spend your important evening to stay with us for a couple hours here. And we thank you so much for coming with such a notice, and we just call you and you say, well, I'll be there. And that's the kind of leadership, that's the kind of people we want to identify and look for and work with. You did not need for me to come and beg you or with a very formal letter invitation. I just call you on the phone and say, please come, and you say yes. I just grab you by the elbow and say, come, I'm doing this, will you come? And you say yes. So I appreciate all of you, each individual of you, because I think I know almost 95% all of you because I talk to all of you. And I appreciate your friendship and your support and for your passion that you want to move your community forward. Okay? So again, with that, I want to just have us exercise a little bit. Can you show hands that you promise that you will go out there and motivate 5 to 10 people to vote? Yes? Okay. And go educate your parents, the young people. Go educate your parents about the voting process because they complain that it's so hard and they don't know how, okay? But I see that so many young people are U.S. citizens, but the number is still very low. So what are we saying about that, right? So I encourage you guys to that. And last but not least, thank you, Mayor candidates. We wish you all the best and looking forward to be in partnership and collaborative and work with you when you become the next mayor. Thank you to all the Hmong community that are coming tonight, and thank you to Hmong Community Alliance Church. What a beautiful church. This is from my home church, some 20 years ago. And so it's such a pleasure to come back here, and thank you for just letting us use your facility when I just called and said, Pastor, can I use your church? Yes. Okay, so thank you. And I just wanted to also thank you to all the organizations and all the partners and the groups and the churches and different groups of the community, the parents, the teachers, the elders, leaders, our veterans and our guest speaker, Janae. I just want you guys to know that this is the late General Van Pal's youngest son. Okay? So thank you for coming. It's such an honor to motivate me and to motivate our community and our parents in here. Okay? And thank you to our wonderful MC, Mayor. And to all the volunteers and to all the community planners. There's so many of us. And if you see our flyers that right there, there's so many. So I can't go through the whole things right now because I want to, let you go. And so I also want to thank Hmong farmers, National Hmong farmers for being part of donating lots of the drinks and food. And I want to thank you, Asian Supermarket, for also donating some of the drinks and all that for us too. All that, I think we will finish and conclude this forum. And just thank you, gentlemen, and good night, and God bless.
Thank you.